Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is another episode of Jets Final Drive. Thank you guys so much for joining. Zack Rosenblatt and myself were a little late, left hand up. That one's on me. Zack, we were just talking about this. I'm big into the new slacking and all that, which kind of felt like it came around COVID, I guess, is when that became popular. I don't know why that when I tried to log on to get the link for this broadcast, it told me that Chrome is no longer accepting my Slack login for my NBCU profile. I feel like it's such a ridiculous excuse that it can't possibly be made up because I swear to you it's not made up, but that's why we're like 5 minutes late. Now, anyone who goes back to the can't wait days knows that this is a staple of mine. I'm always 5 minutes late, which was what made me 5 minutes early for our last show so crazy. But that truly was the case here, dude. Where like I don't even know. I'm anti Slack now.
I think what Slack meant was it can't accept your bright orange shirt is what it was trying to say.
Dude, background on this. This is a Jurassic Park shirt. I don't know if you guys can see it. So my wife and
I got the text just to background it because you and I both are big Jurassic Park fans.
We are.
You texted me a photo from Target of this, and then what happened. But
dude, it's I told you like so we were. Yeah. I was walking through. My daughter is 2, and she is as obsessed about dinosaurs as I am. Like, seriously, like, I think her third word was, after Mama and Dada, was roar, because she watches, like, Camp Jurassic or Camp Cretaceous with me on Netflix. Like, she's obsessed with it. So we're walking through Netflix, and Brooke goes around and just starts or walking through Target, and Brooke just starts roaring. And I'm like, the hell is she roaring at? And I turn, and I see this shirt, and I'm like, oh, my God, I got to get it. And Bree's like, absolutely not, Connor. That is a bright orange dinosaur shirt. No way in hell you're getting that. I'm like, I got to get it. So I'm looking. They don't have my size. I'm like, all right, it's not meant to be. Bree turns the corner further and goes, there you go. And she picks out my medium, hands it to me, and sure enough, I've had this shirt. And the crazy, dude, I've worn it to like 100 different functions, like graduation parties, down the shore, out at the bars. Like, I'm all about it. I love it. Like, it's orange, which is my favorite color. And then it also has dinosaurs all over it. It's the best.
I'm surprised you didn't wear it my wedding weekend when we did that bar crawl the day after my wedding. I feel like that would have been a good look for you.
I was vetoed on doing that. I think Bree,
so it was
Bree does have Bree does have some standards for me on what is accepted and what
she's seen in public with you is the kind of the line, I imagine.
And she's still with me. 15 years, man. Started dating since we were in high school. All right, so enough about dinosaurs, enough about my shirt, enough about my family. Although I'm sure we're gonna get into it later, and then we'll get into yours too, Zach. Jets talk. It was a busy week, man. I mean, absolutely. I think cut down week is always pretty crazy around the NFL because everything that you strive for and everything that you go throughout the offseason for and the amount of 53-man roster projections that you and I have done throughout our careers, like it's all to get to this point, the team that you are going to take with you into the regular season. And the Jets now have their 53 plus their practice squad. Right off the bat to you, did anything surprise you about what the Jets did? I know for me, the answer is no, and I'll go into that in a second. But did anyone stand out to you as far as like, oh, this guy's gone, didn't think he was going to be gone. Oh, this guy stayed, didn't think he was going to stay.
No, that's the interesting thing about this year's roster. You know, I'd say there was like mild surprises, but none that like I think fans get attached to certain players. So when they get the David Clowney, like the types in training camp that like captivate the audience, and so when they get cut, everybody loses their mind. You have guys like Donovan Edwards or Jamal Pritchett was the big one this year. But the way this roster is, it's pretty top heavy, and at the bottom of the roster was a bunch of guys that, you know, at the end of the day, I think they prioritize like experience and things like special teams over, you know, the flashy receivers, and most of whom were always going to get through waivers, which they did. The Jets had one guy claimed on waivers, Derek Bernard-Converse. So, you know, Jamal Pritchett and the Xavier Gipson conversation is probably the one that captivated the fan base the most. But I wouldn't say I was surprised by it necessarily, and we'll get into why. But this was like the least dramatic 53-man roster situation for the Jets I can remember. Because, you know, I think the last 2 years, I know nothing worked out in the end, but this was a team that on paper had a really talented roster top to bottom. You saw the last couple of years, they had like 3, 4, 5 guys get claimed on waivers from other teams. And this year they had one. And I didn't even necessarily blame them for cutting JBC, even if people were surprised by it.
I'm with you, dude. Like, I think that, and this was one of the reasons why I've been asked this by a lot of people in terms, because I cover the Giants as well. And who's the better team, the Giants or the Jets? I think the Jets might have more star power, quote unquote, but from a depth perspective, they're lacking. You know what I mean? Like the perfect example is Garrett Wilson, a legitimate top 10 receiver, in my opinion, in the NFL. Not really a lot after him. And you can make that statement about several other positions across the roster. So I don't think when I was putting this one together, I looked at anyone and was like, oh man, if he's let go, that's going to be a huge stunner. There's no real veteran with a high tag that they can get out from under. There wasn't an underperforming guy, no one that got in any legal trouble that they were going to move on from. I think the one, maybe two, that stood out mostly just because of their names. And like you said, Skinner and Pritchett, like those are guys that fans fell in love with. But in the grand scheme of things, and you learn this when you do it so long, like you have, like I have, there are players that stand out because of what they are with your team, but you need to compare them to what they would be with somebody else's team. And I never saw either of those guys getting claimed by somebody else. And so the fact the Jets were able to just put them back on their practice squad, that worked for them. And if anything happens to Allen Lazard and they move on from him, or if say Josh Reynolds gets hurt, or something happens to Garrett Wilson, or Xavier Gibson struggles early on in the season, they can easily cut one and bring in the other, or IR somebody and call one of those guys up. So it's not going to be that crazy or that asinine with it. But the two main names that were let go that, again, were noteworthy because of who they were. Carter Warren, who at one point, the last Jets regime, I remember boasting up as a potential mainstay as an option at either left tackle or right tackle. He's gone. And then Malachi Corley. And Corley probably is the most noteworthy because he was a third-round pick, because he was somebody that the Jets boasted as they had the highest grade on him of anybody who was not named Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. in that class, that they loved him. Aaron Rodgers saying that he was his favorite receiver in the class, and for them to give up on him after not even 2 years. Like, he didn't even make it out of his second training camp. That's surprising, but when you peel back the layers and you look underneath the bed and you kind of start to figure out why this went south, I think there was obviously a lack of performance on the field. 1 catch for 8 yards in the preseason, Zach. You were at every single training camp practice. I was at probably 50 to 60% of them splitting time with the Giants. Corley was working the entire time with the third string. Okay? That's noteworthy, number one. Like, that they don't think enough of him that he's already on the third string. But when you're working with the third string, Zach, you're going up against third string defensive backs who have now also been cut, and Corley did nothing in camp. Ever. He never did anything.
It was pretty jarring, honestly, like watching, and okay, maybe a guy not showing anything in practice, maybe on game day. Like, in theory, Malachi Corley's going to be better on game day because the whole thing is he's the Yak King, right? So he's going to break tackles, but that just never materialized either in camp or in the games. I think he wound up having like 2 catches in the preseason this year. And, you know, I'll never forget, like, we were talking to the position coaches a week or two ago. I can't remember if I said this on the last episode, so sorry if I'm repeating, but like, you asked Sean Thompson, the wide receivers coach, about Malachi Corley, and his immediate reaction is like, yeah, he's working hard, and we're gonna try and get him the ball more. Like, he needed a moment to be like, okay, what can I say here to be nice? I mean, it says a lot that a guy who was drafted in the 3rd round last year was not claimed on waivers by anybody. I mean, that's pretty rare. Like, that, he was the highest drafted player that's been cut from that draft class, and no other team felt like they needed to claim him. I know you have like the reports, he has a lot of interest from all these other teams. He's choosing which team he wants to sign with. He signed with the Browns practice squad, and nobody claimed him. So I don't think there was a lot of interest. He does feel like the quintessential Browns receiver. They do like to get these guys.
They gave Tony another chance. They gave Kadarius Toney a shot.
Your boy Elijah Moore, he's going down that route. I mean, it's smart organizationally to take a flyer on a guy in theory that's talented. But yeah, I mean, Corley, you hope, I don't want to trash the kid. I don't think he's a bad kid by any stretch. He probably was a little immature here. And you hope you hope it's a wake up call for him, and he goes to Cleveland, he gets humbled, realizes I need to prove myself. Like the kid that, went to Western Kentucky, you hope that he can prove himself the way he did there, where he became a star and become something, because I do think there's talent in there. His skill set maybe wasn't as built for the NFL as the Jets wanted to believe, because you need to be able to run routes. You need to be able to do more than make plays after the catch. Like, you need to get to place where the quarterback can throw you the ball. So maybe he's a gadget player in the NFL, but you can have a long career in the NFL as a gadget player. So it wasn't going to work here, but maybe it'll work for him somewhere else.
Yeah, and again, I remember reaching out to people about like why it didn't work last year. Like, because if you remember, Zach, the play that he fumbled on, that end around, he got the end around, and all of us were like, "Whoa, who's that?" Like, because you saw the speed. So when I looked into it, like I was told basically that there were times that the Jets went to him and they wanted him to learn a handful of different positions so they could use him in a handful of different ways. He wasn't putting in the effort to do that stuff. They wanted to use him on special teams. He went and told Sean Jefferson, absolutely not, I'm a receiver, I don't play special teams. In fact, I was told he actually skipped one special teams meeting when he was supposed to be playing on special teams, so they sat him down for a while. It's not like he's a bad guy. It's not like he's out there getting in trouble with the law or being a bad teammate. It's just an immaturity problem. And then we talked about it. Like, yeah, the quintessential example of being immature is the Jets trade for Davante Adams. Davante Adams is number 17. He wants number 17. He went to Corley and he offered him $20,000 for the number. So that's what Davante Adams said. I'll give you $20,000 for the number 17. Corley came back and said, I don't want $20,000. I want $117,000. Like, Davante Adams was like, dude, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing that. Now, the powers that be within the Jets organization basically came in there with the meme, like you always see of like ripping the guy's shirt off. Like, they basically ripped the number off Corley and just handed it to Adams. Davante's a good guy, so we ended up paying him the $20,000 that he promised him anyway. But just little stuff like that, eventually, I think it just got to the point where it was enough. And I thought the best possible thing that could have happened to him was getting the new regime in here. Nothing changed. Like, there was still the immaturity issues. And ultimately, I think you can look past a lot of that stuff. If he was performing and dominating on the field, he wasn't. Like, he was invisible in practices. He was invisible in games. And that was kind of it. Jets here, we'll move on quick here, Zach. Again, Carter Warren, whatever. I really wasn't surprised at too many of their cuts. And everybody I think that fans were upset got cut. They're all back on the practice squad. Big news, though, is they did claim some guys, and the tight end is one I think probably could make a pretty big difference for this team, at least rotating in there, because that's a height, weight, speed, physicality thing. Dealt with some injuries, but there might be something there for the Jets.
Yeah, Jelani Woods he's the kind of guy that you take a flyer on this time of the year, especially at a position of need. He was a third-round pick a few years ago, showed some flashes as a rookie. He's like 6'7", 260, has shown some flashes as a blocker. He's a really good athlete. He missed the last 2 years with injury, so that's not nothing. And guys don't get cut ultimately this time of the year if they're ready to like be a stud right away. But, you think about, for all the criticism Joe Douglas gets, like, he was really, really good on the waiver wire, and he found a guy in JFM and he found a guy in Quincy Williams this time of the year. So, and Quincy Williams was a highly drafted guy. He was a third-round pick. I can't remember what JFM was, but this is the kind of guy you invest in. They don't really have a lot of talent at tight end behind Mason Taylor. And Jelani Woods is a guy they can develop. This coaching staff believes in their ability to develop. If he can be a good blocker, he's going to get on the field. And I ultimately wonder what it means for Jeremy Ruckert long term. But, yeah, he was the most intriguing guy to hit the waiver wire out of anybody that was cut in my mind, just because people probably forget, but like when he was coming out of the draft, he had a really good combine, and he was kind of like one of the biggest risers of that cycle. Didn't work out in Indianapolis. It's kind of a mess over there anyway. They drafted Tyler Warren this year. I think they have quite a few tight ends, so he didn't really fit ultimately. But yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued by him, and I wonder how quickly he can get on the field with this team.
The other two waiver claims for the Jets, linebacker Cam Jones and then a tackle in Essa Pohl. I think Pohl is somebody that I'm pretty intrigued with what he could potentially be for the Jets. Ruckert, you mentioned him. It's funny, like you say, Jeremy Ruckert. Like, dude, he's a guy that I think is like a poor man's Michael Clemens amongst this fan base right now. Like, he gets an insane amount of hate. And, like, I get it. The guy is not a starting NFL tight end. Jeremy Ruckert doesn't do anything, in my opinion, exceptionally well. Like, he doesn't have the best hands in the world. He's not the fastest. He's not the best route runner. He's not the best blocker. But he's fine in all of those categories. Like, you can trust him. I think he's reliable enough. Like, he's a serviceable enough blocker. He's a tight end 3 in the NFL. He's a tight end 2 in the NFL. Like, look across the league. Like, how many teams are running 2 and 3 deep at tight? This isn't like receivers. So, like, this whole, like, cut Ruckert, it never really made any sense to me, because I still think he serves a role on this team as your backup tight end. Like, he's fine in that regard. I don't think he's somebody who should be playing 40 snaps a game. They have Mason Taylor. He's not going to be playing 40 snaps a game. Like, after they came out of here, and claiming Woods, like he's now going to be getting the receiving options that I think you saw Ruckert getting in camp. So that was something. Again, it's the people hate Clemens probably for the same reason that when he plays more than he should, some of his warts stand out. When Ruckert plays more than he should, some of his warts stand out. If he's a 10-snap-a-game guy, if he's a special team situational guy, or tight end 3, I really don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially now that you drafted somebody, Mason Taylor, who you're hoping is going to develop into a pretty big, notable guy for you. Real quick before we're moving on, Zach, I know that we are live streaming many, many different places. You could be watching us right now on sny.tv. You could be watching us right now on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. You guys could be watching us on Facebook. One place that I do want to direct you to, if you want to interact live with the show, that is YouTube. Because as we are running YouTube, much like we did when I was co-hosting Can't Wait, much like we do, or you do, I'm sorry, Zach, on Flight Plan, which you guys should subscribe to as well, we have a live chat rocking and rolling in there, which means you can comment on what's going on. If you hate my shirt, love my shirt, if you want Zach to take off his hat and show his shiny bald head, you can do all of those things in this live chat. And one thing that we are going to do, because we want to keep you guys as involved in the show as possible, is we're going to pop in here. I know I've got Brian, one of our producers, in my ear whenever something pops up or you guys say something really good. I'm also got the live chat right here rolling so I can see what you guys are saying. A lot of comments in here. So we're going to take some of those throughout. I can take a couple now for you guys. But again, like if you guys want to, we love it anywhere you're watching. We appreciate anywhere you're watching. But if you want to interact live with us, YouTube is the place to go. SNY is the channel. Subscribe, like, and you'll see Jets Final Drive going there as well. Zach, early on some of these comments, Malachi Corley, stuff on him, So one here, I'll take this. This is from Brian. No disrespect, Connor. Always a good lead-in. That's always a good lead-in. No disrespect. That's like the Ricky Bobby with all due respect. You were hyping up him as a future tight end 1 when they drafted Jeremy Ruckert, possibly as soon as the second season, you said. That's because that was in their scouting report, and I read their scouting report.
Receipts.
Yeah, well, I read their scouting report, and their thought was that...
And it was wrong.
By the end, yeah, and apparently that does happen.
Wait,
that
what?
Apparently does happen. Yeah. This one actually is a very interesting one, and we should take this one because I've seen it a lot. And I think it could potentially make sense. I'm just scrolling up here to see if there's anything else worth. We'll go with these two, bang, bang, because they are tied here. Tanner wants to know if there have been any rumors about the Jets getting a wide receiver 2 via trade.
Is that Tanner Engstrom? Is he asking? Because he needs to know if he needs to coach somebody up.
Yeah, right? Yeah. And then somebody here, this is Tony, I believe, asked it. Where is it? Yeah, Tony asked it. Jacoby Myers. Is there a possibility with Jacoby Myers? Here's my thing. When I first saw that alert, because I have Jacoby Myers in my dynasty league, so I am invested in him. That is a guy who wants a new contract, who went to his team asking for a new contract. They basically said no, and then he said, okay, then trade me, and the Raiders don't really seem inclined to do that. Myers is a very good player. I don't think that would be cheap. So if you're going to trade for him, you're probably looking at parting with a second-round pick. I don't know if that's what the Jets are going to do. If you look at the trades and the way that they've addressed some of their concerns, like when they brought in Kyle Phillips to address the middle of their run defense, they're giving up late-round picks. They're giving up 6s. They're giving up 7s. They're swapping things. That's what they're doing. I don't know if Muji right now is going to say, okay, we already paid Garrett Wilson a ton of money. Now we got to trade for a guy who's 30 years old and give Jacoby Myers a big contract and also part with a second-round pick. Like, that to me doesn't totally make sense. Same reason why you go down with Micah Parsons. And I saw some alerts coming up on my phone as we're broadcasting this. I don't think he's gotten dealt yet. If he did, I think Brian would pop in my ear.
He hasn't yet, yeah.
It was probably a Pro Football Talk. I don't know if they're just listening or how things start spiraling here. But Micah Parsons, would the Jets be in that one as well? Like, Micah's going to cost at least 2 first-round picks. The Jets are not in a position with Micah or without Micah to compete for maybe playoffs, but they're not going to compete for a Super Bowl with Micah Parsons. So if things go off the rails and maybe Justin Fields isn't as good, you trade 2 first-round picks. I mean, that's how you're going to get your quarterback of the future. So if you feel differently, Zach, tell me and yell at me. But I don't see Parsons as a legitimate option. And Myers, it's hard to part with a 2 and pay him when you're a team that, yeah, you need a wide receiver too, but I don't think Myers moves the needle between, okay, boom, now we're competing. Yeah, the Jets need a second receiver, but they're not competing now because they got Myers.
I mean, in both of those situations, it ultimately just comes down to, is that what the cost is? And I imagine Micah Parsons is going to get all of those things. If you can get him for less than 2 firsts, like, I don't know. I mean, he's a guy you build around. He's maybe the best player, non-quarterback in the NFL. But the Jets, like you said, they're not in a position to be trading all their assets away for a defensive end when that's not really going to move. They already have Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald right now, unless you were trading one of them in the deal. Jacoby is really interesting to me. If it's a second-round pick, I don't think you can justify that. He's 28, I think. He's very productive. I think he'd actually fit really well with Garrett. He'd be a short-handed guy in this offense. But if you're trading a second-round pick and then you have to pay him, I don't think he's going to cost $30 million a year. But if you have to turn around and pay him $20 million a year, you're paying $50 million a year to 2 wide receivers, and you're probably not any closer to the Super Bowl. So I'd lean towards no. I think the waters they're going to be waiting in a wide receiver if they're trading for someone. It's more the Romeo Doubs types in Green Bay. I know Jets fans have visions of Alec Pierce from the Colts. I don't know why the Colts would trade him, but it'd be guys like that, guys who aren't going to change your team, but they're not going to cost as much while also providing an upgrade over the Jets' current wide receiver situation, which is not that hard to do.
Yeah, I feel like receiver is one of now. So, like I said, I'm in a unique situation because I cover the Giants and I cover the Jets. It's a breath of fresh air to see the Jets identify a problem. Now, they could have drafted an interior defensive lineman at some point, and probably they don't need to go out there and get Phillips. They don't need to go out there and make the trade for Briggs. They don't have to do the things that they did last second to try to patch those holes. But they identified a problem, and they tried to fix it. They identified a problem at receiver, and they tried to fix it with Mechie. They just couldn't get the deal done. The Eagles ended up making that happen. The Giants seem to have these problems and just be oh, these players that we drafted 2 years ago who everyone and their uncle can see aren't good, oh, they're going to fix it. That's kind of what throws me. So I do think it's a benefit, and it's a positive that, very similar to how when you talk about Howie Roseman and the Eagles, it feels like every single deal Howie Roseman is somehow involved in. Everything that's if there's a big player available, he might not get it done, but he's going to make the phone call, and if there's an opportunity to make the Eagles better, the Eagles are going to somehow be involved down to the wire in some way, shape, or form. Muji seems like he's getting to that place. Now, the Jets are not a contender like the Eagles. The Jets don't have a roster that looks like the Eagles, so they can't be super, hyper, ultra competitive because their draft picks, they still need to round out that depth concerns that we're talking about. They still need to draft players that are going to be long-term mainstays. But you can tell that as long as Muji is here, and if the Jets eventually and Aaron Glenn reach the point where they think or they hope they are going to go, Muji is the general manager who will be he'll have a quick trigger finger to identify a problem and then a faster trigger finger to try to fix it, which I think should be very reassuring to Jet fans. All right, Zach, let's move.
Real quick, I just want to jump on one thing about that point. I will say one thing I appreciate about the Muji era so far is we haven't dealt with the after the fact, oh, the Jets were in on X player. Oh, the Jets made the phone call about X star that came available, because those stories got leaked constantly with not only the last regime, it was also before that. It was the almost Jets. It's like the Joe Caporoso is big on the almost Jets. Yes. There's a whole list of them. I appreciate that the Jets, either they weren't pursuing anybody this offseason or they just weren't leaking we tried, but we just missed them. And so I just want to say I appreciate that from Mooj.
There's still a Jet stigma they're trying to break. And I think that now the thing with Joe Douglas was that he came from Howie. So he was involved in all this. And why you have the quote-unquote almost Jets, and it's just the way that Joe ran things, is that he had a price. And once he got to that price, he was done. So there were a lot of players who were quote-unquote almost Jets because they went for $5 million more than Joe was willing to pay, and he just wasn't willing to pay it. That's how he believed in doing this the Ravens way. He believed in doing this the Eagles way. And once you exceeded what he was willing to pay, he was out. And then the guys who didn't exceed what he was willing to pay, he kept. So it was an interesting little situation though. And what you did have to be careful of is hindsight saying the Jets were in on it was probably true. Saying it beforehand, there are agents who will just say Jets. And Joe had to beat this forever because when Joe was here, he had to beat it because agents, and Kirk Cousins was an example of this, and to a point, C.J. Mosley and Le'Veon Bell, even though the Jets ended up signing him, they would tell teams the Jets are in on it because then if the teams wanted, if the Jets are in it, they're going to overpay. When Mike McCacken used to just give dumb money out to guys, he was we got to go 10 more, let's go 10 more. The C.J. Mosley contract was probably my favorite thing ever because I remember talking to people about this, and Mosley ultimately became a really good Jet. But he didn't want to leave the Ravens. He loved it in Baltimore. He didn't want to leave the Ravens. And the Jets wanted him badly. And not because Mike wanted him. That got lost in translation. Adam Gase wanted C.J. Mosley. He viewed him as an A-tier free agent, leader, culture, locker room guy. We need him. Plus, he's an elite-level player at the middle of your defense. He wanted him. Mosley, though, wanted to stay with the Ravens for obvious reasons. The Baltimore Ravens were a Super Bowl contender. The Jets were still kind of in that weird little semi-sort of rebuild. So he kept going back to the Ravens. Like, the Ravens would make him a really good deal. The Jets would be like, we're going more. He would go back to the Ravens and be like, hey, the Jets are here. So the Ravens would go more. Ravens would go more. Finally, that contract that he got that I think if my memory
$85 million.
$85 million. Yeah, $85 million. He took that deal to the Ravens, and the Ravens were like, holy crap, you have to take that contract. Like, I'm sorry, CJ. Like, you have to get that deal. And then CJ signs, and it's like, oh, my God, they got CJ. And then Le'Veon Bell was just because Anthony Barr backed out, and they took the money that they weren't giving Anthony Barr.
Anthony Barr is a legendary almost Jet. Yeah.
He was truly almost, because he agreed. He had a verbal agreement.
He agreed. Yeah, he agreed to it. I was going to say, this is a good transition for almost Jets, because I know you reported on this a little bit, but quarterback-wise, the Jets had interest in the Jets had interest in Tommy DeVito. You can get into the details of it. I was curious to see if they would, because there was a lot of like discussion around the Jets need to bring in a quarterback. Tyrod Taylor's banged up. Might as well place a waiver claim on DeVito. I think the league was surprised that the Patriots were the only ones. Maybe I think teams thought he was going to get through waivers. Maybe
yes.
The Patriots saw an opportunity to get a quarterback to be their QB3 behind Drake May and Josh Dobbs, and that wasn't the team I would have guessed he would have gone to. But I was interested in your report about the Jets, if you want to get into that.
No, well, it's what I had heard, and other people have reported on it and touched upon this as well. I was stunned when it came through that he was claimed. So all I had heard was like, I knew the Jets liked him, and I knew the Jets wanted him, which makes sense, man, because Justin Fields is your starter. Yes, there's no competition for Justin Fields, but Tyrod Taylor, when did he? It was like the second week of camp, right?
Yeah, he's been out a while, and he got his knee scoped and was knocked out for the whole preseason. Yeah,
and it's 35. Like Glenn's been saying he'll be ready by week one. He'll be ready by week one. He hasn't practiced. And he wasn't out there yesterday, right? When you were at practice,
he was not. No.
Yeah,
they have the weekend. They have the week off, so he'll have a little time to get healthy. But I mean, Glenn, to his credit, has been on point for almost all the injury updates he's given us. So I'll take his word for it for now. But yeah, I mean, I'm concerned about Tyrod, to be honest. Like, I mean, he's a guy that already had a lot of health stuff his whole career. He's had the worst luck of any quarterback in NFL history. I think, like, you just think back to when the doctor and with the Chargers, like, stabbed him in the chest with the shot or whatever happened. Like, I don't remember the exact details, but it was something like that knocked him out. And so he lost that. And then he kept being like the bridge quarterback to all these young QBs, and he would get hurt. And now he's in this situation. He's 35. They love him in that locker room. Justin Fields hasn't played a full 17-game schedule in his career yet. Like, you need a good backup on this team, and I'm concerned about his health going into the season, especially at 35, especially the way he plays. So, I was curious if they would. I was curious if they would go for somebody, whether not even DeVito, like Hendon Hooker from Detroit. Clearly, Tanner Engstrand and Aaron Glenn know everything about him, and they didn't like him enough to bring him in. But Kyle McCord from the Eagles, like, there were guys out there. I was curious if they would bring them in. They kept Brady Cook on the practice squad, but
the thing with those guys, Zach, that you're mentioning is, like, you don't know if they can play.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, that's it. Yeah. And, like, I know there was some, like, asinine, ridiculous, like, Tommy DeVito takes out on social media when, like, the news of the Jets potentially liking him were out there. And it was like, oh, his arm's not good enough. Oh, it's only because he's Italian, like all that. Look,
he's the third string.
He's a third-string quarterback. Here's what you think of when you have a third-string quarterback. You're not looking for a guy that's going to be a star. You are not looking for a guy that's going to win you 12 games. It's a third-string quarterback. If he was capable of those things, he's not a third-string quarterback. The reason why the Jets were interested in Tommy DeVito was this was an opportunity to put somebody, now from the Jets' perspective, it was practice squad, let him learn the offense, and then eventually elevate him. The other teams that were interested in him as well, it was practice squad, let him learn the offense, elevate him. I thought that's what the Patriots wanted as well. Practice squad, let him elevate. I was stunned when they just claimed him. Like, he's immediately on the 53-man roster. I didn't think that was going to happen, which is why then, if he made it through waivers, it was going to be a competition thing. Like, it was going to be, okay, where's my best opportunity? Going back to the Giants, well, I'm basically quarterback 4 until Russell leaves, and then maybe I can be quarterback 3. Okay, Patriots, I got a chance to really be the quarterback 2. With the Jets, have a chance to really be the quarterback 2 or even play if things don't go well with Fields. And then Tyrod Taylor gets hurt. There's a chance for him to get in there. The thing about DeVito, though, is that as quarterback 3, whatever you believe his ceiling is, if he is the Jets' quarterback 3, he is somebody that if Justin Fields gets hurt or gets benched, or Tyrod Taylor gets hurt, or for some reason you have to break glass in case of emergency and go to quarterback 3, or Tyrod Taylor's not ready, something happens to Fields and you got to go to Tommy DeVito, he is somebody that you can put on the field. And as we saw last year and as we saw the year before, is he a great quarterback? No. Is he a good quarterback? No. But he is a quarterback that can function in the NFL. He is a quarterback that he's not going to win you games, but he's not going to be a complete disaster on the field who is a detriment to both himself and everybody around him. And hey, Jet fans, you've seen what that looks like. Bryce Petty, you've seen what it looks like. Those are guys that, like, you start a game, you're like, oh my God, who is the quarterback? Zach, you might have been covering the Eagles at the time during the Adam Gase when Sam Darnold got mono. Was it Luke Falk?
Luke Falk, yeah. Luke Falk played the Eagles because I remember writing about it covering the Eagles, yeah.
And never played again. He was such a disaster that he never played again. Tim Boyle. And somebody's going to pop the meme of my face up here about like what the Jets coaching staff and Robert Saleh told me about, and I still hate him for telling me that and make me look like an idiot for the electric pass delivery.
It's legendary.
Commanding offense, yeah.
I will say the best QB3 was Chris Streveler. I'll go to my grave with that.
Yeah. What's funny to me, though, is like someone like, there's this dude who tweets it to me on every response. It's like, it's only Twitter. He tweets
it to me sometimes. It's amazing.
It's wild. But, like, Tim Boyle, like, Tommy DeVito's better than Tim Boyle. So if he's your quarterback 3 on the practice squad and eventually elevated to the regular roster, what'd I open up back here? Oops. Yeah, give me a second. I have, like, my screen so it doesn't go black. I have this thing up here to... I was opening up my...
This happens when you deal with TV people. Just a lot of, like, nonsense happens,
yeah,
guys.
I'm sorry. But that's the thing with DeVito, dude, is, like... He would have been an opportunity where if the Jets had to break glass in case of emergency, you could run an NFL offense with him on the field. Like, he is a quintessential perfect third quarterback in the NFL. Maybe he develops into a backup. Maybe somebody loves him, he's quarterback too. But he's a really good quarterback 3. And, like, the asinine remarks that I saw from people, like, that thought, like, it's like, oh, he's terrible. He's quarterback 3. That's what he would have been. It's ridiculous to me. Other than that, like you said, Martinez is gone. He's in San Fran, right? That's where he ended up?
Yeah, he's on the practice squad in San Fran. They brought Brady Cook onto the practice squad.
And Brady Cook is their practice squad when they didn't able to get him. If the Jets have to go to Brady Cook, guess what? They're absolutely screwed. If they had to go to Tommy DeVito, they're not as screwed. Like, that's a fact. Like, it made me so angry when I saw that. I think it was MYJ Matt who sent me that tweet, and like I read it, and I was like, that's your take. Anyway, let's move on, Zach, to another thing that has gotten irrational hate here. And I do want to say before we move on here, love wherever you guys are watching us. Made this comment before, whether that's SNY.TV, Facebook, X, absolutely love you there. But if you want to interact with the show throughout, the place to be is YouTube. Watch us on YouTube. Subscribe to SNY's YouTube channel, Jets Final Drive, every single episode, and Jets Mailbag, which is going to come next week. All of those are going to be on that channel. You can interact with us live with that chat. We see them all. I've got it right here on my tablet. I'm reading through them as Zach talks. Brian in my ear, if anything really good is question. We're going to take those questions in a little bit after this this topic here we've got coming up here. After this one, we're going to take some more questions from the chat. But if you guys are watching us elsewhere and you want to interact with the show, YouTube is the place to do that. Go to YouTube, comment section. That's where you guys can find us to interact live with Zach and I right now. If you have questions, comments, concerns, we will take them all. I saw somebody making fun of my Jurassic Park shirt. You're blocked because this shirt absolutely rocks.
Well, that's a good transition because we're going into fashion right now, aren't we?
We are. Look at that. Transition, Zachy. Jets have new uniforms. Hashtag Jets new uniforms. Shout out Darren Lee. I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I think they're awesome. And I'm not a uniform guy. I'm not somebody that like gets all up in arms about them. Maybe it's because I'm a simp for like all black uniforms, but I think it's great. Like, I do. I think they're awesome. I know people are making fun of them, and Zach, you can go into this about how, like, one of the things they pointed to is, like, a sewer cover was, like, as their inspiration.
Yes, I'm very passionate about this, yeah.
Yeah, but the texture looks awesome. Like, I think the texture looks cool. The black looks cool. The supplemental pictures that came out look cool. Like, you're showing it here. Like, dude, I think they're sick. I think it's of the new uniforms that have come out for the Jets since they switched. So what was that, like, 2019, 2020 with the disaster ones that said New York across the front? These are my favorite, I think, that have come out. Like, I think, bar none, these are my favorite. Like, I just think they're awesome. Like, they're really, really cool. They're not too gimmicky, or they don't branch too far into, like, the college world where everything is nuts. I think these are sick. I love them. I really do. I hit up some people with the Jets over there. I was like, dude, these are kick butt, man. Like, these are awesome.
I do think they're really cool. I do enjoy giving you crap, and we did get into a heated discussion about Gotham and New York and all that stuff. I don't know if we want to get into that here, but I will say the thing you alluded to, I'm just like obsessed with this, and it's not ultimately a big deal. But in the Jets like press release about this jersey, they explained that on the shoulders. Here's the line. It says the nod to the iconic NYC manhole pattern is on the shoulder. So they have manholes on the shoulder. They're honoring the manholes of New York City, the sewers, where the poop flows through the streets. They're honoring it on this uniform. Like I'm obsessed with that, and I know I get it. Like they're honoring New York City, but like to put that in your press release, like I don't know. I might have left that line out because that's going to be something people like me are going to jump onto.
I just love
it.
I'm looking up. Like, if you guys ever notice me on this, like if I glance up above my cameras, because I have like the program, which is what you guys are seeing right above my camera. I'm looking at what we've got on the screen right now. The uniforms are sick. Like they are, like they're awesome. Like cool. I don't know how you like. That was one, again, you guys have heard this from me 1,000 times. Like, I'm not a Jets fan, didn't grow up a Jets fan, have no fan allegiances to this team at all. Like, that's a jersey I would buy, though. Like, if I was just a casual person that was like, hey, I'm going to like football now, and I'm just picking just off jerseys, that one's sick. Like, I like the way the logo looks. I like the black. I love, like, it's like a gray is the number, too. And again, I'm not a fashion guy. You see me. I'm in a Jurassic Park orange dinosaur shirt. Like, fashion's not my thing. Bree dresses me anytime I go to a game. These are sick, though. I like them a lot, man. I like them a lot. And it does bring – we talked about this, though, Zach. I think we talked about it in our Twitter chat or group chat, I'm sorry, with the everyone from our Jets Final Drive group chat we were talking about before this. The worst uniforms I've ever seen that came out was like Neil Glatt's last gift to the football gods or gift to Jet fans was those they were like the weird green with New York across the Jets, the childish like logo that they redesigned. It was terrible. But the funny thing about them was that the driver of getting those done was Darren Lee, like the former Jets first round pick. Like he started randomly out of nowhere, #Jets new unis. And it was like this big thing on Twitter, like this huge thing on Twitter about Jets need new uniforms, Jets need new uniforms, Jets need new uniforms, Jets going to get new uniforms, need them. That was during the Todd Bowles era. Bowles gets fired, Adam Gase takes over, Greg Williams comes in, right? Greg Williams comes in as defensive coordinator. I remember talking to Greg Williams, and Darren Lee was my guy. Like, I was close with Darren Lee. I remember talking to Greg Williams.
The death knell in his career, I would say. Yeah.
I would say probably, and things have not gone great for Darren Lee since. On or off the field. Yes. Still remember, we can really go back to the archives about like Leonard Williams at a concert. Darren Lee got like physical with his girlfriend or something like that, and Leonard Williams literally just threw him. Like, pick him up and like threw him out of the way, and I don't think Leonard and Darren ever hung out again.
I guess not. Yeah.
No. So I talked to Greg Williams at the Combine, and I'm like, I was like, Darren, like, where is he going to play? Because he was a middle linebacker, but smaller, so you're going to kick him outside in a 43, and he goes, I'm going to be honest with you, Connor. I took him off my draft board. And I was like, well, that's probably not great for Darren Lee. So as the Jets are like screaming and yelling about like new uniforms, and then finally they get these new uniforms, Darren Lee, who like started the movement, literally, dude, got cut before he ever got a chance to wear the uniforms. He got a chance to see them like they showed them to him. But he told me once that he showed up for that OTAs before they traded him to the Chiefs. And like, there's always a depth chart. Like, there's always a depth chart that's in every coach's office. He goes, Connor, I'm not even on the depth chart. Like, they don't even, I'm on the roster, but like, when it's like first, second, third, fourth, fifth team, like my name's not there. Like, I'm not even on it. Like, I'm just here, like collecting a paycheck. And it was still voluntary. So you need to skip it. He goes, no, I'm gonna keep going. Like, why not? I guess I'll just do individual drills. But yeah, that was something. All right, real quick here. So, like I said, I just texted Brian to get some questions here. Reiterating this. Appreciate you guys anywhere you're watching. YouTube is the place to interact live with the show. SMY on YouTube. Subscribe there. Interact live with the show. We have a comment section. I can see all of the comments that you guys are writing. Brian, Sam, Corey, Jeff, all of our tremendous producers can read them as well. I keep pushing them, by the way, and I'm a big Howard Stern guy. So they're all going to be like our Baba Booies, and I'm going to get them. We're going to eventually have them come on to the show because I want to see their pictures here with us as well. I think it'll really make this fun. But here, so we've got questions here that have been submitted. Brian's texting them to me. Zach, first one we touched upon, is there any rumors about getting a wide receiver 2 via trade? Talked about that a little bit earlier. I don't think that's going to happen. I think you said you don't think that's going to happen. Sauce Gardner, not a captain. Much ado about nothing or noteworthy. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's notable. Like, I don't know if it's like matters. Like, it only matters if Sauce is offended by it, which if you just look at who they voted as the captains, you have Jamie Sherwood, who replaced C.J. Mosley and is basically running the defense. Everybody's hyping up how much of a leader he's been this year. And you have Quinnen Williams, who's the longest tenured non-Thomas Hennessy Jet, and he's been through the ringer with this team. And, if they're doing 2 for each unit and then 1 on special teams, Marcelino McCrary-Ball was a fun one to get thrown in there. I don't think anybody predicted that. He's a guy the coaching staff clearly likes, and obviously was never actually on the bubble. But yeah, I don't think it's a big deal that Sauce Gardner isn't the captain, but it is a big deal if Sauce Gardner is offended by it, which, I haven't heard or seen anything that would suggest that he is.
Sauce isn't like that. He's a leader by example. He's not a vocal rah-rah guy.
Sure.
Like he's
he would say that.
Yeah, he's not the guy in the center of the meeting screaming and yelling. Like, he's not the guy standing up being like, let's go, guys. It's not who he is. He goes out there and does his job, and he's one of the 3 best corners in the NFL. Like, he's not – the captain patch should be reserved. You don't want to be like the Giants a couple years ago who had 25 captains on their team. Like, that's not what you want. So, no, I'm not surprised Sauce isn't a captain. I never looked at him and was like – again, you can be one of the best players on the team and not be a captain. So, like, I never looked at him and was like – that guy, like, oh my God, he's a captain. I just think he's one of the best corners in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like,
by the way, I always think of, I think it had to be 22 because Rodgers came in 23, where they did players voted as captains. They did 1 for each unit, and Zack Wilson was voted the captain for the offense. And I would say that was probably a rigged election. That would be my.
I heard that Zach's first year when he was voted captain, he was not voted captain. That the Jets players did not vote Zack Wilson captain his rookie year, and the Jets saw that and were like, the coaches saw that and were like, oh crap, because I don't think you were on the beat yet, Zach, but that was a big 21. Story in college. That Zack Wilson was not initially voted captain in college, and then eventually got one like 3 weeks later or 4 weeks later, something along those lines. So he was not voted captain early with the Jets, and the Jets were like, oh no, he's captain, boom, and threw him in there, and like. That's why they never said players voted these guys captains. It was like, here are our captains. Like, you know what I mean? Something like that. Moving on here. Arian Smith, this is from Dominique. Arian Smith, could he potentially be the Jets wide receiver too? I think that could be the case week 7, 8, 9, 10. Right now, not. I mean, Connor Rogers had a really good take about this. Like, I get it. He's a receiver and he's a playmaker and he's somebody that players are going to be or fans are going to gravitate towards. Like anytime there's a receiver, you want to see him. And he's fast, and he's explosive, and he's going to make big plays. So that's going to get people hype and happy about that. But there are warts to his game he needs to work through. Like he isn't great running through contact. He needs to be a better 50-50 guy. He needs to be better catching in traffic. His route running needs to improve. His hands are still a work in progress. Yeah, he's fast. Yeah, he's going to have a role on Sundays. But to put him out there 40 plays a game and rely on him, there's going to be a lot more struggles early on with him than I think you would maybe have with Josh Reynolds. So you're kind of going to rely on Reynolds as like that veteran who you know what he is while you keep developing Smith. And look, week 10, yeah, he might be the wide receiver too, seeing 30 snaps a game. But early on, I think they're making the right decision using him sparingly to begin.
Yeah, I think not only is it exciting because he's a receiver that they all want him to be the wide receiver too, I think it's they're looking at this wide receiver room and they are not excited by Josh Reynolds. They're not excited by Allen Lazard, Tyler Johnson, who's on the practice squad now, or Xavier Gibson. And so out of that group, like Arian Smith is the most exciting non-Garrett Wilson receiver they have because he has a skill that none of those guys have, which is deep speed. He is very, very fast. He's made some plays in camp. And so, today we talked to Darren Muji and Robbie Payton, the co-director of player personnel. And when he was going through the rookie class, I thought he spoke the most at length about Arian Smith because he said something along the lines of like, we want him, he's going to be making an impact right away. Like they're going to have a role for him. Maybe it's gadget stuff, maybe it's go balls, but he's like a little bit more important to this offense than I would think you would hope for a 4th round rookie because if they don't have somebody like him making plays over the top, then it's going to be very hard for Garrett Wilson to get open when he's being double and triple teamed. So Arian Smith is important. He's not wide receiver 2 day 1. Is he wide receiver 2 week 4, week 5, week 6? Like potentially, like if you're in like one of those dynasty fantasy football leagues, I would invest in Arian Smith, frankly.
Fortunately, I just traded him. So I don't like that. So I drafted him because of you though.
That wasn't it for his career. If you gave up on him, that bodes really well for his season.
Well, he was involved in a trade for Lamar Jackson. So like he wasn't I didn't like just dump him. Like he was on there, but I will say like I don't think the guy even really wanted him and I threw him in there and I think he just like okay. And I was like, damn it, I probably could have done the deal without him. But I'm high on him. It's funny, Zach. Like I told you, I texted you that I drafted him in my dynasty league like late. Like I got him like the 5th round or something.
Oh yeah, I remember because you weren't at camp that day. You're like, should I get Arian Smith in my dynasty league?
Well, no, you tweeted something like Arian Smith looks fast. You tweeted like Arian Smith looks fast.
It was the first day. It was the first day of rookie camp actually.
Yeah,
it wasn't
that was
anything
the Giants
meaningful.
Yeah, that's great. Last question, and I think you might have submitted this. You might. I don't know if John Gunning is your what's it called? When you have
alter
a Twitter?
ego.
Alter ego, or what's the Twitter when you have a fake Twitter?
Burner.
Yeah. I think John Gunning might be your burner because what are your thoughts on Chris Banjo? I think that's. I'll just let you take it because I don't know. I think subscribe to The Athletic and read Zach's story on Chris Banjo. But yeah, if you want to take that one, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's asking because of my story from last week, but I wrote a profile about Chris Banjo because I'm kind of fascinated by him because he's a guy that was literally playing like 2.5 years ago, and he was still planning to play when Sean Payton in the middle of the night called him and was like, "Hey, Chris, I've been thinking about you," which is just a funny story the way it was phrased. But apparently Sean Payton's known for just making late night calls because he just like can't sleep. And he just called. He was just like sorting through his Saints rosters, and he landed on Chris Banjo in 2016 or whatever it was. And he called him. He's like, "I want you to be on my coaching staff. Have you thought about that?"
Real quick, Zach. Coaches are not normal people. Like
no,
the
they're
more
not.
you
They're
talk
not.
to them, again,
Sean
all
Payton
of
in
them.
particular. Yeah.
Adam, Dow.
They're insane. They're insane.
They're all nuts. Like Saleh, they're all insane. They are not right in the head. No coaches. Yeah. And I love them all. I'm friends with a really good amount of them now doing this job as long as we have. I love them. But like they are, you need to have the screws either too tight or too loose to be able to do that job. Like that's like just 3 a.m. scrolling through past rosters and being like, then calling guy, I'm thinking of you, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that to you. I'm going to call you at 4 a.m. tomorrow and just be like, Zach, I was watching some old Can't Waits.
I mean, let's not pretend like you haven't just sent me weird things randomly at weird hours.
I'm fairly certain I did that last night. I'm fairly certain that happened yesterday.
I'll wake up to text messages from you. I'm like, Connor might have been drinking the night before is what I would say. But, I mean, I won't dive too deep because you should read the story because I worked really hard on it. But basically, like, Chris Banjo is somebody that it's pretty rare for a guy to not come basically from right off the field to being a special teams coordinator within 3 years. And so he's someone who's pretty highly regarded in coaching circles as like a future star. And this is his first time like leading a unit, and the special teams unit was pretty good under Brant Boyer. I think they had a bad year last year, and so he caught a lot of flack, but he survived 3 coaching changes for a reason. But anyway, I think Chris Banjo has a lot of potential, and it's hard for a special teams coordinator to become a head coach, but he's on a path that could lead him there if he's able to turn this unit around with. They should have a better punter this year because Morstead, I think, fell off. Zerline was a disaster last year. Nick Folk should be solid. The concerns you have are a punt return. And, so Chris Banjo I'm high on. I think he's going to be a good coach, but we're going to find out pretty soon.
Yeah, I don't have the concerns with Xavier Gibson like all you guys do. I'm just going to be honest. I see people like hate on him. Like, I think that Xavier Gibson is somebody that you can reliable. I don't think he's what the Jets once thought he was going to be when he had that game-winning touchdown against the Bills in like his first game. But he's a fine enough punt returner. He's a fine enough slot receiver if you got to play him again. Garrett's going to be their slot. So like Gibson's going to play like probably 10 offensive snaps a game maybe. Like that's what he's going to be doing. Like Garrett's back in the slot almost full time. I just think he's fine. All right, we're going to move on here, Zach. Thanks again for the comments that keep coming through, guys. Again, I keep saying it, but we appreciate anywhere you guys are watching with us, but YouTube is the best place to watch because you can interact live with the show. We're going to keep doing more and more and more of that and making it more interactive as this season goes on. We are still in the infancy stages of this. I know it's season 2, but we're doing so many different things this year. So we're still finding out ways to get you guys as involved as possible. That chat, though, is a main way to do it. So, again, love you guys watching us on Facebook. Love you guys watching us on X. Love it even more on YouTube just because we can see you guys and interact with you guys, and it's awesome. Facebook probably is my most intriguing one because when I go back and tally all these views, Zach, like of where we get them, and we had a real nice one for the first season. I love going on Facebook because that's not a link that I can personally share. Like X I can share on my accounts. YouTube we can share, and it goes off in their algorithm. When I go on like SMY's Facebook page and be like, oh, our show last week had 20,000 views just on Facebook, it's like, where the hell did that come from? Like I didn't even know people like still used Facebook a ton. But yeah,
They do it to say all their political opinions, I think, is the impression I get of Facebook these days.
My dad
if
does that.
It's fine if they click on if you click on our show, then you can put whatever opinions you need on the internet.
My dad's like literally I've muted my dad on Facebook. I'm like, man, I can't do this. I can't do this, man. Like every day I go on, it's just another political rant. I'm like, dude, I'm out, man. Unsubscribe. But don't unsubscribe to SNY. SNY on Facebook, you can like us there. SNY on YouTube, like us there. All right, 2 more segments here, Zach, and then we're going to wrap this one. It's been an absolute blast as well. Worried, not worried, is what I have written down on the rundown here. We'll go worried for me, then you first, and then we'll go not worried after that, if that's good with you.
Yep. You want me to go first?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go first. My worry meter with this team, I'm going to tweet this real quick. Worried and why? Question mark. Get some more people in here. Post. Okay, live tweeting on the show. Let's go. The number one thing that I'm worried about with this team, we talked about it a little bit last week, Zach, and it has not changed all. It's quarterback. I'll be honest. Like I think if you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I could have said, if you would have asked me this when camp began, where I'm worried about with the Jets, it would have been quarterback, depth, cornerback 2, receiver 2, and pass rush, right? That's what I was worried about. Or run defense, not pass rush. Run defense, not worried at all about it. Like, kudos to Muji with the additions that he made. Not concerned whatsoever about the run defense. Cornerback 2, Brandon Stevens has turned some heads. Do I think he's an elite level player? No. Do I think he's as good as DJ Reed? No. But I think he's a good player, and I thought he was going to be bad. So not worried about that at all. Receiver 2, yeah, it's an issue, but maybe Arian Smith steps up. I'm still high on him, even though I traded him in Dynasty. The one worry that I can't get away from, it is the quarterback. Like, I got into an argument with NYJ Matt and NYJ Mike about this, who I love them both dearly, especially Mike, who I graduated Monmouth with. But, like, I got in an argument with this because they're like, it's just the preseason. It's only a handful of throws. It's whatever. We've watched so much of training camp. And the concerns that you saw from Justin Fields in that Giants game, the concerns that you've seen from Justin Fields at random points throughout his career with the Bears, with the Steelers, all of those were at the head consistently in training camp. Like, there were moments in training camp where he looked really good. There was a series where he looked really good. There was a set of drills where he looked really good. But it was never consistent good play from him for a week or for days or even for a whole practice. Like, there was never a point in time where hold on, my dog is like barking like crazy downstairs. My mom is supposed to be watching.
Micah Parsons was just traded to the Packers.
What?
Micah Parsons was just traded to the Packers, and he signed a 4-year, $188 million deal.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that then. Okay, so he didn't go to the Jets.
2 first-rounders. He did not go to the Jets.
Really? Breaking news. We need a sound. What should our breaking news sound be? Breaking news. All right,
Wow.
So give it to me. I haven't looked down at my phone. I was texting my mom to try to shut the dog up.
$188 million, $136 guaranteed, $47 million per year, highest paid non-QB in history. All it says is 2 first-rounders so far. I'm sure there's more, but that's crazy.
Holy cow.
Wow. I mean, the Packers are clearly all in. I think they're going to be really good this year. I already did before that, but wow, that's pretty mind-blowing.
Wasn't the dog on Twitter on that?
Oh,
the Twitter dog?
Pretty Ricky or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't he like really on that? Wasn't he tweeting about the Packers for a while?
He did, and I think people downplayed it. Then Brian Gutekunst got asked about it, and he kind of didn't answer. And so I think that Jerry Jones, like, letting him leave is worse than if he had let CeeDee Lamb leave or if he had even let Dak Prescott leave. Like, Micah Parsons is a 24-year-old and one of the 5 best players in the NFL. Like, this is apparently there's additional competition, potentially a player, but the deal is done and agreed to.
Wow.
I
mean, good for them. Make some contenders.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what
they were already contenders before. And Micah Parsons is insane. I don't think he's as good as Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is probably the best defensive end pass rusher.
Well, he's younger though. He's younger though.
Yeah. I mean, hell, this makes the Giants better. I mean, this makes the Eagles better. This makes the Commanders better. I mean, Micah Parsons was somebody who every single game you had to worry about. Every single game you had to worry about. And from the Jets, this is an NFC to NFC standpoint. So, like, I thought when the Cowboys were going to deal him, they're going to deal him to the AFC. Now he's still in the NFC. So from the Jets, like, you're not going to have to see him until the Super Bowl, right?
By the way, this made me think of, you were just talking about the Jets don't have to face. That just made me think of, I think it was like week 2 in 2023 when Dwayne Brown was on an island with him and they were not sending help. Like Nathaniel Hackett was refusing to give Dwayne Brown help against Micah Parsons, so he just destroyed.
Can you go
Zack
into that
Rosenblatt
more?
day.
Because I know you had some. I mean, Hackett's gone, all that stuff's gone. Like you have some reporting on that. Like, can you go back? I remember you telling me this in real time, and I'm like, like the stuff you knew from players and all that other stuff. So
I think we had.
For those of you that remember, Aaron Rodgers gets hurt week 1. Jets versus Cowboys week 2. Dwayne Brown is basically playing on one leg after not taking part in any of training camp, and his goal or his obligation week 2 is Micah Parsons, and Nathaniel Hackett, and the brilliantness that he was, put this game plan together to stop him. Go, Zach.
Yeah, I believe we had this in our story we wrote at the end of the season about Jets dysfunction that was centered around Saleh, but there were moments in that game where Dwayne Brown is on an island with Micah Parsons, and Keith Carter, the offensive line coach, who's also on the headset, is like begging Nathaniel Hackett to get him some help, and Hackett's either ignoring him or just not doing it or saying no. And over again, Dwayne Brown is one-on-one with Micah Parsons and just getting absolutely destroyed. I mean, Dwayne Brown was on his last legs already, and you're going against this guy with fresh legs, one of the best players in the NFL. But that was just like one of many examples of Nathaniel Hackett's incompetency. Like, I don't think we'll ever cover somebody like him, offensive coordinator wise. Like, it was bad. Like,
never. You remember the thing when they was like, and he had players making animal noises and like in meetings.
Wow, oh, man. My favorite Nathaniel Hackett thing, and this ties into our friend Andy Vasquez, who covers the Jets for NJ.com. Nathaniel Hackett had this thing where at the beginning of every press conference, he'd walk in and he'd be all happy-go-lucky, and he'd be like, "Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys," or "Oh, wow, it's a cold one out there, huh?" Just like having the time of his life, even though he was in the middle of like coaching the worst offense in the NFL at the time in 2023. And Andy got so mad, I think he walked out one day. He's like, like the idea that this guy is just like having the time of his life while we have to cover this like slop every week was just like quintessential.
The Jets holding their press conference too, right after they hire Nathaniel Hackett, and they have Robert Saleh has an emergency conference call with reporters to basically say like, I didn't hire him just to get Aaron Rodgers, and then it comes out that the only reason they hired him was to get Aaron Rodgers. It's like, no, I swear we hired him because we love him.
We're not stupid. Like, we're not dumb.
They wanted that. Their plan one was Todd Downing, Mike LaFleur, and keep Derek Carr. And then when they found out they could get Rodgers, they brought in Hackett to seal the deal. All right, real quick, because this is what we're going to end the show with here, Zach. Unfortunately, we had the breaking news. For breaking news, but worried, not worried. I went with quarterback Justin Fields again. This isn't just because of training camp, this isn't just because of preseason. This is a culmination of preseason, training camp, the issues at wide receiver, too, some concerns potentially with the offensive line and what the Giants did to him in their joint practices. If the Jets are in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9s, I am worried about what their quarterback situation is going to look like. Justin Fields is an elite athlete. Justin Fields can run. Justin Fields will feast. He might be the most deadly quarterback not named Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen in a 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 situation. But in passing downs, I don't trust his accuracy. I don't trust his fundamentals. I don't trust his decision-making or processing. And nothing happened in the month plus of training camp to ease those concerns. That is my biggest worry with the Jets. My non-worry is the defense. I have absolutely no concerns that this defense cannot be another top 10, maybe not top 5, but I think they can be a top 10 unit in the NFL this year. Like the way that Brandon Stevens has stepped up, the way that Muji stepped up to address the concerns at the run defense, there's no true weakness on this defense. Maybe you can say safety, but as long as Gardner, Michael Carter, and Stevens are healthy, you can survive average to maybe slightly below average safety play. Like, I don't think a poor safety is going to be like, oh my God, the Jets are now a bottom third defense in the NFL. I think they can be top 10 because they shored up that run defense. Zero concerns with them at all. My only concern, or my most pressing concern with this team, is the quarterback. Now you go, Zach.
No. All right, I'll be a little quicker. Long-winded there, but I'll say I'd say worried. You cover quarterback. I'm worried about the receiver room, and I'm worried about the depth at defensive end. Receiver, we kind of covered a bit, but Robert Mays on the Athletic Football Show has said, like, if you look from the Jets' options in the passing game from like 2 to 5, 2 to 6, you could argue that's the worst group in the NFL. I know everybody's high on Mason Taylor, but he hasn't played an NFL game yet, and Breece Hall is in theory a really fun pass catcher, but he's also dropped the ball way too much this summer. So I have a lot of concerns about the passing game in that regard, like even removing the Justin Fields of it all. The options around Garrett Wilson do not encourage me that they're going to be able to scheme up a lot of plays for Garrett. And defensive end, you go behind Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald, and you have Michael Clemens, and you have Tyler Barron, and you have Brady McGregor. It's not a group that is going to be able to pressure the quarterback quite a bit if anybody goes down. And Jermaine Johnson's coming off an Achilles, so I have concerns about that. And the lack of concern, I agree with you. I'd say I'm not concerned about the offensive line. I know it's not guaranteed they're going to be as good as everybody thinks, but I've been encouraged by how good they've been run blocking. I think Armand Membo is going to get better as the year goes along. I think Olu Fashion is going to be very good. I think AVT is going to be one of the better guards this year, and I like John Simpson, even though he's banged up right now. Joe Tippmann will be the center, I think. If Simpson's out the first week, then I would think Tippmann slides over left guard. But I feel really good about the O-line, and I feel good about the cornerback room. You alluded to Sauce, Brandon Stevens, Michael Carter II. Zaire Thomas is talented. He was banged up all year. Quantez Stiggers had a good summer. So this is a team that at the top, if you just look at like the starters on the depth chart, I feel good about them. But once you go into like some of the depth at some of these positions, I feel a little less good, I would say.
That's going to do it for us. I think that's a good second episode. What do you think? Think it was good?
Yeah, I mean, that was we threw in some breaking news at the end. We had a lot of fashion talk. Good stuff.
Parsons is good, man. That guy's like a really, 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 really good player. Like he is, and like he's for a contending team. I think he can get you over the top. It's just when you're not a contending team or you don't need it. Like, yeah, he would have been great on the Jets. Imagine him next to Will McDonald, Jermaine Johnson. I mean, that would immediately rival the Giants as probably the best defensive end situation in the NFL. But you can't. The difference between the Packers and the Jets is the Packers have their quarterback, so they can give up those first-round picks. The Jets need their first-round picks to draft somebody, in my opinion. I mean, but that's interesting, man.
If you had money on the Packers like winning the Super Bowl, you had it at a good time because their odds are about to jump to them being like
I hit Tommy Fleetwood. Did I tell you that? Did I tell you I hit Tommy Fleetwood winning? One of my favorite podcasts. Shout out the guys over at Pardon My Take. John with 2 B's calling in and just being like, "I'm not AI. Bet Tommy Fleetwood. He's winning the whole thing, the FedEx Cup." I was driving to the Jets, and I'm like, I feel like I kind of got to do that. And again, I'm not going nuts here. I bet $25, but 25 paid out 400, dude. So that was a nice little payout. I like that. So if any listeners here want to send us some stone cold locks, now you know I will bet it. I will follow because the one I can't miss out. I have such bad FOMO. Zach, you know this. I can't miss out on a good time. So if you're telling me like this is a lock, dude, I'm in. I got to tail you. I got to follow. Nothing like your NBA prop bets, Zach. Like those were running everybody out of town a year or so ago. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Jets Final Drive. Thank you guys so much for watching us wherever you watched us, whether that was Facebook. Shout out you guys. I think it's mostly moms and grandfathers and all that stuff on Facebook, but thank you guys for watching us there. SNY.TV. X, if you are there. Thank you, Elon, for continuing to share us around there. And then, obviously, on YouTube. If you guys want to catch the rebroadcast of this, it's going to be up on YouTube. It's going to be up on SNY. It's going to be on both Zach and mine's and SNY's Twitter channels, X's channels. You can watch us all there and make sure that if you do watch us on those various places, if it's Facebook, like the SNY Facebook page. If it is YouTube, subscribe to SNY's channel. And continue to comment, like, and spread. Because this show, going into year 2, we had such a successful season 1. It's why we're back again. But the more likes, the more comments, the more shares spreads us to other Jet fans, which is what we are ultimately here trying to do to grow and build this show. We are going to be back next week. Zach, you and I will definitely be back next week as we're going to do this thing every single week. We are also next week going to have the first episode of our second Jets show. It's Janae Coakley and myself with the Jets mailbag. I'm going to compile your questions throughout the week, and then Janae and I will answer them in a rapid fire way next week, and we're going to be doing that all throughout the year. So more Zach and I on Jets Final Drive coming next week. More Janae and I, or for the first time, Janae and I coming on Jets mailbag. And if you guys want to watch more of this, X, Facebook, SNY.TV, and YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining. This was an absolute blast, and we'll see you next week.